right, welcome everybody. Thank you for coming to the information session for the Journal of Law and Innovation. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Christopher Yu. I am a professor here and the head of the Center for Technology, Innovation, and Competition, and the current faculty advisor for this year's volume of the journal. And this will change every year. And I'm delighted to have you here, particularly because it's such a last minute but very odd thing that's being motivated by a lot of different aspects. So normally, the mantra of the law school is to let 1Ls be 1Ls and have the full first semester experience. As you know, a number of forces have completely scrambled that and have put us into an entire tizzy. Most notably, from your perspective, would be the fact that OCI is now happening in the 2 weeks in January and starting on the 7th of January, which is something that is absurd and is not ideal from anyone's standpoint. And it's really, this is a testament to how FOMO fears just completely take over everything. I was talking to my friends at law firms, they're all complaining about it too. And I'm saying, but it's your fault. I mean, it's not, and it's not everyone in the firms do, it's the management is like, well, but if we don't go then, you know, and they pushed it back to now basically where we now are getting you first semester grades by the end of December, which is something we've never done, and we're scrambling around. But the other thing it has implications for is journal selection. Journal selection is one part of your planning, which we normally put off till next semester, but is often a critical role. If you're on a journal, it's a very important way to signal your interest, your focus, and your accomplishments. So because of that, we have chosen to find a way. And by the way, in all fairness, we are one of the few schools that's actually able to get the recruiting on the timetable through on-campus that other schools that can meet what the firms want. Other schools have tried and have largely failed. And I think it's a testament to how nimble Penn Law is, and more importantly, how committed we are to students, to supporting you in what you're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish. And I think if this is part of it, it's becoming a bit, it's more involved than we thought it would be. It'll require a lot of us to do a lot of work over Christmas break, and it's not mandatory, but we wanted to provide you with students who knew this is something they wanted to do and would find it advantageous, an option that they could pursue to have this opportunity and to signal that you're going to pursue this opportunity during your on-campus recruiting in January. All right, so that's the long walk up to this. But more importantly, I normally begin this by saying, I love this organization because it really is a place where the students who are really interested in tech law issues, in innovation, and all these new things that are happening come together. And in our hope, in my mind, has become one of the seminal experiences for the students who are interested in those topics, and it's a shared experience that they have. And so it's something that we've really worked hard to create. And in fact, this is the 9th year. If you join the journal, you will be part of the 10th anniversary celebration, which we will pull together, which will involve not only you and the typical journal experience, but we're going to be organizing generations of previous attendees. The first generation of which will be delighted simply becoming, because they weren't sure when they began the whole thing whether it would still exist in 10 years. I mean, anytime you start something new, it's always got that really risky, weird experience. And I think that it's been a really gratifying experience for a lot of us. And so it's exceeded all our expectations, but what is it? Just to tell you, it is a very different experience than what you will see in other journals. Why? Journals are traditionally student-run, student-led, and student-edited, and have, frankly, a minimum, generously, a minimum of faculty involvement. Read really generally no faculty involvement. All of them have a nominal faculty sponsor, but having been at once, the amount of contact you have them is relatively small, if any. So the idea of this is fundamentally different. It is a 2-semester experience. The fall semester is a substantive seminar on a topic in technology law. And so we will that is related to the conference, and the readings and the substance of that seminar will be related to the topic we will do in a conference, which we will field usually in the last week or last couple weeks of January, just at the beginning of the new semester. And so we will be prepared that on a substantive basis. And then we will then have the conference. The conference is part of the fall semester's official obligations. And then we will spend the spring semester editing the submissions from the conference into a published volume, which will be part of the journal. So it's not just the journal experience. You will actually have a classroom experience that is substantive and focused on a particular topic. And in addition, we'll have a chance to really to explore an issue in depth in a way with a faculty contact, which people often say is a really nice experience. In addition, we'll actually organize other events that will allow you to interact with other CTIC faculty. We traditionally do a happy hour and different aspects of this around this. And then you'll get interactions with the authors themselves, which I think is a wonderful part of the experience. The other thing, because it's taught as a class across 2 semesters, many students, not many, a non-insignificant number of students actually do this in addition to a traditional student-edited journal, because you have time to do both, because this will actually relieve the workload, your curricular workload, your class-related workload, because you will get academic credit, you'll get graded credit in the spring, in the fall, and then co-curricular credit in the spring, ungraded, but it allows you the room to do both. And a number of our students will do that every year, and that becomes part of the experience. And so the idea is to create a really unique coming together place where the students can gather who are interested in this topic, and we meet essentially as a seminar once a week, and we have this fabulous discussion and about different topics. And if you want to know when I say topics, what do they mean? These are the topics from the last 8 years, so the first 8 years of the volume. Starting, the one we're doing right now is about complexity theory. This is something you hear a lot about. People talk about chaos theory and complexity theory. And it generally just often, unless you have some actual content, it just seems that everything's complicated and anything can happen. These are flash crashes and these very strange things that happen. There's actually some intellectual traction we can try to put on this to turn it into a usable concept. AI governance last year, we looked at antitrust and digital and big tech, which is obviously continuing to be a big issue. Space, innovation at the time of crisis, that was the COVID year, without any great surprising. Role of state and innovation policy, that we did one on everything except IP. These are subsidies, tax breaks, all these other ways we incentivize innovation in different ways. Smart contracts in the digital era, links between copyright and patent law, and the like. And the topic for the next year hasn't been picked, but it is extremely likely it'll be co-instructed by Allison Hoffman, Herb Hovenkamp, and myself. And so in terms of, obviously a third of you know Allison Hoffman, you have her, and you'll get a general sense of this. And the other thing I'll tell you is, because the topic changes every year, if you become a member of the staff on a 2L basis, though members of the staff have the opportunity to apply to become the board members in the 3rd year, to become the leadership of the journal. And as board members, you're entitled to actually take the seminar again. Because unlike other classes where you don't want to take the same class twice, this will never be the same class, because it's always going to be a different topic based on a different set of conference participants and topics as we go forward. All right? So that's basically, from a 37,000-foot level, what it is. And so if you're interested, we're going to, well, actually, before we get into the nuts and bolts, why don't we start now and talk. We have 2 people here who are the editors-in-chief of the journal. That's Mateen Ali-Khani and Amrutha Chettikattil. Sorry.
It's a hard name to say.
It's okay. I should do better. And then we have 2 other members. I just known someone, Alex. Let's not make this Ella and Alex Park. But anyway, just to give you an idea, before we talk about, because we're still on the stage, you're still that much like, well, are we going to do this? Is this a great idea? Whatever. I'd like let's find out. Let's just go straight down the line with Mateen. What has your experience been with the journal?
Can everyone hear me? Great.
This is being recorded. I should warn everyone. So if you don't want to be recorded, leave.
So I first learned about the journal in that symposium, Antitrust at a Crossroads, which I attended as a 1L, and I kind of just dropped in. And I think, as we'll talk about, there's a range of subject matters in the Journal of Law and Innovation, and I'm far more like antitrust focused and far less maybe like IP focused than many people. And so I kind of brought that background to JLI. And I think what's really nice about kind of our symposium structure and the structure of the class is that you can bring what you're interested in and apply it to kind of the subject matter for that year. So I wrote a comment last year on antitrust subject matter focused on algorithms and AI, and that fit into what we were doing on innovative approaches to AI governance. And so I really enjoy the class, and then the kind of journal work, so you get a mix of different things, and then I'm really enjoying being on the board right now.
Hi, I'm Amrita, and I originally joined because I am super IP focused. So I kind of knew right off the bat, like I love scholarship, I love this sort of work, but I'm so IP focused that I feel like none of the other journals made sense for me, and this just felt like the perfect environment for honestly a group of like kind of nerdy people that like we love our particular thing that we love, which is a niche area of law. And it was an incredible opportunity to meet people outside of my first year section. I know you guys are all first year students and you sometimes feel like it might be hard to, I guess, commingle between different groups. And it's cool because here I have like a group of people who are interested in similar things, which has been a blessing. I remember my 2L year being an AE. One of the 3Ls at the time, who was our old EIC, she kind of sat down with me and talked to me about like clerkships and IP and other things that I was interested in, but didn't really know who to go to on campus. So that's been gratifying. But also the seminar itself was super cool. My background's in like biochem, health space, totally not AI, yet it was absolutely fascinating. I feel like the way that the seminar is structured, regardless of the topic, every single year, it's kind of structured in a way where it's accessible to people who might not have any substantive background, but it's also a cool place for people who do have prior experience to kind of let that shine as well. So yeah, that's why I stayed on my 3L year as well.
Hi everyone, I'm Nonso. I am one of the associate editors this year. I have a background in science, technology, and society. A lot of that is like hard science, chemistry, and in law school here, I'm not super focused on like hard IP, but I'm still interested in startups and technology, and I will be doing transactional work next summer. I say this to say that a lot of people think that like the only reason why you should go into a journal is because you're doing litigation or if you want to be a professor, and like that's not necessarily true. I'm someone who just wanted to keep up with the literature and give myself an opportunity to really sink into kind of new ideas. Sometimes it feels like 1L or like other classes are just kind of go, go, go. Like you're reading as much as you can, you're preparing for the exam, and you don't have enough time to explore like intellectual curiosities. So that's the reason why I joined. I've been having a fantastic time. My favorite part about the seminars is the tangent talks. So you get assigned to a particular week and you get to make a presentation on basically whatever you want that stems off of one of the ideas of one of the readings for the week. So I did a presentation a couple weeks ago about like technology and design, and specifically like design systems in Africa and how they're being used for like different types of like economic development. So yeah, it's been awesome.
Hi. Sorry. There we go. My name is Alex. I'm also an associate editor too. So far, we've mostly been in the fall phase where we have the seminar class. I'm currently on 2 journals, so I can definitely reaffirm what Professor Yu said. This journal is very, very different from your student-run journal. The student-run journal that I'm on, which is Law Review, is mostly just you get your article, you do your source hunt, you just do your edits again and again. There's unfortunately not as much opportunity to engage with other students who are interested in the same things as you and to like sit in a classroom with them. So that's personally why I really wanted to join JLI. I heard that there was this like division between student journals and faculty run journals, where the faculty run journals have like a seminar system where there are more opportunities to engage with the community and talk about like the different articles that you guys might want to read. And I'm very happy I did that. I also do fall a little bit into the stereotype of the hard IP litigation person. That's why I was interested in the journal in the first place, and I think that's why I'm still here. But I will say that there's actually not as much overlap between the hard IP people and this class as I anticipated, because like currently there's only 3 people in my patent law class who are in this seminar, and in fact there's a diverse variety of people who are in the class with different backgrounds, so that's definitely something worth considering. I also really enjoyed the tangent talks. My tangent talk was on the tumor microenvironment as an example of a complex system. The one that I really enjoyed from another student was that she was talking about how like AI was kind of like this third player in the healthcare system, and it was making a lot of decisions and taking away patient agency, and I found that super interesting. So yeah, I think it's just a good way to figure out what else your peers are doing and to kind of like break apart from like the law school board a little bit.
All right, so before I go back to this, I want to come back down the table, starting with you, Alex.
Okay.
Cast your mind back an entire year.
Okay.
And imagine you were a 1L looking forward and trying to figure out how you're going to navigate. What would you want to know that you know now that you wish you knew then?
Just to clarify, you mean specifically about this journal or in general?
Well, it is an information session about the journal, but
Okay.
it can be more general. I mean, but we're mostly about helping students because we're all going to be in this space anyway. That's why you're here. But, okay, I'll ask the two-part question. What would you want to know about the journal that you didn't know, and what would you want to know in general?
I definitely wanted to know the topic because I remember last year when we were applying, the topic was not decided yet. I think you were saying that it might have something to do with cybersecurity. So I was like, I would really, really actually like to know the topic before committing. So that was one thing I did want to know. And in general, I personally like to have my syllabuses ahead of time. I know that's not always feasible, but it just makes it kind of easier for me to plan and see what's on the board. Another second thing is that I wanted to know who was actually on the board and like how many of them had similar interests to me, how many had like diverse interests. I was able to get this information a little bit from Jenna because she was my Morse mentor and I was able to talk to her about JLI. But maybe for people who don't have that connection, if there's just like a way to do like a quick coffee chat, that would be pretty useful.
So, I mean, just to comment, obviously it's hard to tell you who the board's going to be in advance in a typical year, and this is far from a typical year. I mean, we haven't even gotten through the first semester yet. A typical thing I would encourage you to do is if you want an idea of what the scope of a typical board is like, you can look at this year's board and talk to them, find out what their interests are. I don't know who the exact people will be in those positions next year, but it will be similar, just because that's just the way it is. And so if I was thinking about this, advising that 1L who wanted to know more about this. The second thing is I find that, in our experience, I still remember the very first time we did this, smart contracts with Tess Wilkinson Ryan and David Hoffman was not what anyone was expecting. And it was actually a wonderful surprise. And I think people found it to be a much more engaging content. In other words, I find that if the subject matter is interesting and you're in this space, usually something that stretches you out of your natural instinct is not necessarily a bad thing. It actually ends up being very interesting. No, sir.
Great. For me, I think something that I was concerned about when I was 1L had to do with if I felt like I had a technical enough background to be able to keep up with the subject matter. I thought maybe I would be looking at an article that had all these blueprints and I don't know, wires and stuff. And that's not really where my science brain is rooted in. I was also very worried about blue booking because I struggled with blue booking a lot in LPS. For journals, you use the white pages instead of the blue pages, so it is slightly of a different form. But I would say that my experience, kind of Alex was talking about, everyone is interested in so many different things, and not everyone has this kind of really deep background in, for example, AI. But your curiosity will be rewarded, and just coming with an open mind and coming as yourself, I think, is just really going to be appreciated. That sounds very cheesy, but it's true. In terms of blue booking, my executive editor is awesome, and all of them are awesome, and you will have a lot of support asking questions, and your work will be checked over 1 million times. So just keep a growth mindset, keep an open mind, and as long as you're interested, you are certainly welcome.
I would say my advice to myself would be slightly niche. I think I always loved writing, but I didn't really know what the process was like to get something published. And I feel like this is a good environment to figure out that kind of thing. I mean, Mateen got his paper published through the journal, which is awesome. Congrats. And every year people have an opportunity to do something like that, but also, being in the world of talking to authors and seeing how, I guess, the meat gets processed. I think there's a phrase, something like that, but the meat gets packed, whatever the phrase is. It's actually really helpful to see if you're someone that's interested at all in publishing your work. How the sausage is made. Thank you.
Yeah, I think I'll give one piece of advice that would have been very helpful for me when I was considering is I talked about how my first exposure was attending the symposium because it was on this subject matter that I was very interested in. And I think that really drew me in, and it's been really nice to try seminar topics that are very much outside of my comfort zone. So this year we went to the AI lab and saw how the sausage is made. And I think that's been really nice. And then the other kind of high level thing is that JLI is 2 credits a semester, and it provides time and resources for me. It was writing, and so writing the comment is a hard thing to do when you have a full course load, when you have a journal that does 5 volumes a year. And so the fact that we can have some time in the fall has allowed me to write the comment last year and then kind of work on a full-length article this year, and so I've really enjoyed that.
It's fantastic. Is it 2 each semester or is it 3 in the fall? Is it? Two? Oh, all right. I didn't even know. All right. So anyway, we'll have some chance to get some questions, but hopefully we've whetted your appetite and then given you a sense of what you might be getting yourself into. That's the what. Let's talk about the how. So we have a standard application process, which is hopefully relatively straightforward, but will ideally mimic the kinds of things you would do as part of the journal on the editor side. First is a statement of interest. Why are you interested in the subject matter? Why would you want to be a member of the Journal of Law and Innovation? This is just explaining your own unique story, because we all have, you hear from here, very different reasons people came to the journal. And the idea is, I think having that sort of variety is a really, really positive thing from all our standpoints, because unlike other classes, this is I think the richness of the different experiences of the students in the room adds something to the class. In addition, you will be given a piece of scholarship, which is actually one of the articles we are currently editing now, and ask you to do exactly what you would be asked to do next year, which is to offer editorial comments on that piece, to assess your engagement and your ability to serve as an editor, which would be your responsibility in the spring. And there will be a certain amount of, blue booking, just because you're good at it now. That's one of the benefits, but it is sadly, one of the realities we face is that I'm still waiting for AI to do the blue booking for me, and apparently they tell me we're still gonna wait. I mean, it's not happening yet. But it is one of those things that we all have to do. In addition, we'll ask for a transcript, which you'll submit, obviously, when you get the grades very, very late in December. The other things we do look at is, one, your level of participation in student organizations. If you're interested in this space, my guess is you'll be a member of one of the relevant student organizations, whether it's PIPG or ITSC or Penn Law Antitrust Association or the Health Law Association or ESLS or HELP or People, and I risk Law STEM Club, and I'll risk leaving out something because you always have this danger with these lists. But broadly construed, at some point you would have naturally sought other people out. And to me, I tell 1Ls, one of the big advantages is talking to 2Ls and 3Ls, because all the things you're struggling with, they were doing, making those decisions the previous year. And to me, student organizations with people who are interested in the similar types of things that you are the perfect place to find them, and it's a great place to do here. And so that's part of it as a signal. But in addition, we do, it's not just the co-curricular stuff. We generally expect students who are interested in this to have taken a class. Either you'll have 1L electives, which are taught by a number of CTIC faculty members, including, I'm teaching 2 of them. Polk Wagner teaches Intro to IP. I can't remember who else is teaching this semester. I didn't look, but you will look. It's pretty straightforward. Or to do it in your fall semester concurrently with taking the journal or something. And my guess is if you're not taking a class in technology-related law sometime in your first 4 semesters here, you're probably not really interested. And so my guess is this is one of the criteria, which is sort of self-fulfilling, which is anyone who really want to be part of the class, I think, would naturally want to do this anyway. All right? So that's the mechanics of what you submit. The bigger question now, and this is something we're still fiddling around with, we finally, as of this morning, I think resolved something that we think will work, which is the when. All right? We're going to do this in 2 phases. And you are under no obligation to do the first really accelerated phase that will take place over winter break. We will have the normal writing competition, which we'll have in the spring, which normally takes place around spring break. We release the materials before spring break and give you until a full week after spring break to submit them. And usually what that means is people who've got extra time in spring break and want to do it then so it doesn't interfere with classes have that option. People who want to go relax and get a break from all of this have that option too. And again, it would be the same sort of exercise. You have to write a brief statement of interest and do some editing and blue booking as part of that and submit that in. So that's the normal thing. And if if what we're going to propose over winter break is too much for you and you just want to do that, or if you're not yet sure, that is an option, and we encourage you to consider doing it. If you already know this is something you want to do, and what you'll discover is that being a member of a journal, I mean, a lot of people understand that it signals things to employers, both in terms of a credential and a positive thing. What I learned when I was in business school, where they taught us to be much more strategic about job searches, a huge part of this also is signaling your interests. Because when you look at all these students and all they're taking as contracts, torts, and civil procedure, it's really hard to sort out what people are going towards. And one of the things that plays a key role to this is they taught us 7 different ways, which is course selection, student organizations, major writing, term time internships, summer internships, pre-employment work, and the last one, which is something that scares a lot of people, is statement of a purpose at the top of your resume. And that's what they're taught us in business school. You have 7 levers, and the strongest applications pull all 7 in the same direction, where the sum is the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. This is another way you can add to that and to signal to employers that you're really interested in particular subject matters, and makes it more natural for them to refer you. What you'll often see in employment is there's the sort of, if you will, the best available athlete route, where if you've done so well, they just take you, you'll just get hired by the company, the firm, and they don't even know where you're going to go. The second part is, if you're on the bubble somewhere, they generally often send you to practice groups, and they start to look, well, is this person interesting? Are they going to contribute something to this practice group in particular? This is your chance to actually have a conversation with those people and signaling how that goes, because that's on the employment side how it works when they're actually starting to do these things. And so the process that we've planned for this is that if you're interested in doing this over winter break, the day your exams end on the 17th of December, we will open the application process the following day and make it possible for students who want to avail themselves of this opportunity the chance of a 12-day or 11-day window to work on that through December 29th. And then after you submit, if you submit anything by December 29th, we will guarantee you a decision by the 5th of December. And the way this is going to work is the on-campus recruiting program runs from the 7th to the 9th of January. The 5th of January. It runs from the 7th to the 9th. They will release your resumes and the materials you submit to the employers on the 6th of January. So by giving you a decision no later than the 5th of January, you will have the opportunity to include in any materials you share with your employers through on-campus interviewing the fact that you are on the if you have been selected for the journal. And I will also say, if you are not selected for the journal in December, that does not foreclose you from applying again in the spring. Because it's a double window process, we will actually make sure that only the people who are definitely going to be on the journal and meet the standards are accepted in December, because, well, you understand the idea of rolling admissions. We all did this school. We also don't know who everyone's going to apply in March. And so we have to make sure that we're taking the people who are definitely going to be on the journal at that point. And so I would say, even if it doesn't work out, then don't be overly discouraged. It doesn't necessarily mean you won't have the opportunity. It means that the standards are going to be discriminating at a certain level to make sure it's just people who would definitely be on the journal, regardless of which window they applied. All right? And that is the plan we have right now that will allow interested students who have the time and the energy during that break between the end of exams and New Year's to do this. And if you do that, we can get you a decision in time for it to be in part of your on-campus recruiting credentials. All right? And with that, I always have a happy picture here. We actually, we generally do, in addition to meeting with faculty, you see a picture, these are previous journal staffs all together. There'll generally be a social activity organized by different, by things. You see one year they went to the Harry Potter exhibit at the Franklin Institute one year. They do different things of different types. You can see an example of the happy hour we do with faculty. And in fact, we have contact information of Amrutha Mateen. In addition, Caroline Olson, who's the managing director, and if you do anything in Keck Law, you'll discover she is the guru of all things great. Among other things, she was in charge of attorney recruiting at both Davis, Polk, and Deckert here in town, so she understands that process well, but also knows everything we do better than anybody. And there is a website for JLI. And so if you're interested, I encourage you to go there, and we will circulate these slides to everyone who attended. All right? With that, I'll stop. Questions? Yes, please.
Okay, so I have, or I guess for you, what's like some advice for application, like a mindset to have as you go to apply?
Yeah, I think what we're really looking for is that you have a purpose for wanting to be on the journal. I think that we understand that you haven't taken a lot of curriculum yet. I mean, traditionally, this would have happened at a time when you've already had the opportunity to take internet law and IP or something of that nature. So I think therefore this application process, we are really looking like that's even more important in some ways because we don't really know what classes you're really enrolled in, and I think that will be hard this year as well. Like, how are you really gonna demonstrate that interest? And so I would just recommend being really thoughtful about your purpose.
I think it's great advice. I mean, another way, tell your story. You know, what brought you here? Why are you interested in the journal? I mean, and you know, by the way, what they'll tell you, and this is generally true of all interviews, is that stories sell. You know, so when I went to business school, I went to an information session, and the head of admissions thanked me for writing a memorable essay. I thought he was just blowing sunshine at me. And so he then stopped me out at the end and said it again. I said, well, why? And so this is back, I'm old, so this is back when I had to write different essays for every single school I applied to. And something about the prompt got me to write a personal story about my family. And what you'll learn is that if you go to sales training, they'll tell you those stories are what convince people to do things, not facts and statistics and all this other stuff. It's this personal narrative. And so I would encourage you, if you want to give us a flavor of who you are, that's probably the most compelling way to do it, is to tell us a story about yourself that explains why you're interested in this subject matter. No pressure. And don't feel like you have to overshare. I mean, the other reality is, you know, we are going to fill a staff of, 20 to 30 people typically. And so, I mean, the answer is, this is not like, oh, you're trying to get this very narrow opportunity. It's going to be a pretty generous one, so.
And we will be asking for your transcripts for the spring that shows the classes that you're enrolled in yet.
Well, pre-registration has already happened, so we actually have some opportunity to have some insight into that as well already. All right? I actually know if you're enrolled in my classes. They told me that this morning. All right? Other questions? All right. Any closing thoughts from anyone?
I was just going to add that, kind of in line with what you were just saying, like why we're running this early application process is to help you tell your story, right? So when you go into this really, really early OCI process and it's difficult to ask your questions because you've only been in law school 3 months, this is something that helps show your interest and kind of connect with people who have either been on similar types of journals or been on this journal.
Alex, you had something to say?
Oh yeah, I just wanted to say I'm obviously not on the board, so I don't have any executive power, but personally as an applicant, like when I was doing the application, I didn't do it all in one day. I kind of split it up to have like some mental space for myself. So for example, I think I spent one day on like the personal statement, maybe like 2 days on the edit itself. So if the application seems like a lot, just remember, like this is not timed. You can like step away, you can breathe, you can split it up however you want. You don't have to stress yourself out.
I will add on to that. I also split mine up into several days. The thing I spent probably the most time on was the edit. I keep bringing up Blue Book. It's not that bad. Blue Booking is not that bad. I'm good at it now. It's not that bad. What I spent a lot of time on was the above the line edits, which all this terminology will be familiar to you soon. Thinking about ways in which like the author could like add another source in this place or expand on this idea or move this paragraph to this paragraph. Like I don't know what got me accepted onto their journal, similar to Alex, but I think that showed a lot of like how I think through things and how I process things. So there's just multiple opportunities for you to really showcase why you wanna be here. And so definitely take your time and be yourself.
Anything?
I guess just echoing again what Professor Yu has already said, there's really like no pressure to, I feel like you're probably getting a lot of pressure about a lot of different things right now, which I understand. Really no pressure to apply in this early cycle. This is something we're opening the door for, but it will not disadvantage you in any way if you bypass it and just apply the second time around. So again, just being thoughtful and making sure you're doing it because you really want to be part of the journal.
I guess what Amrut is saying, we feel your pain. It's a very strange, weird world we're in. And the idea that you are recruiting, you're thinking about recruiting for your second year summer job, which statistically 80% of you will go to as your full-time employment after graduation, in November of your first semester is no one's idea of a good system. But unfortunately, we can complain about it all we want, but it's not going to change between now and January. So it's the system we got. Hopefully, we're giving you some tools that can help you engage. I would encourage you to talk to any of them to find out about this, not just about the journal, but about the process, because every student who's gone before you has had these exact same questions about how do you position yourself, what experience, how does this fit into the other experiences? What are you going to do? And this is something we all have to think through, and we all went through. And so I would encourage you to avail yourself of this opportunity. But we're just hoping that we actually think it's a really wonderful community. And there are relatively few places where you get this very rich community, where there are places where faculty get together, there's places where students get together, and there's places where subject matter comes together. But frankly, the other journals, they don't even come together as a journal very much. It's just the reality of it. And so it's a really different type of experience, which I think this year, you never know. Every organization reforms itself every year, and every year we've done this has been very special. And so I just have great confidence that will continue to be the case. And so I would like to thank you all for coming, and we're happy to answer any questions you may have as this goes. I would also say two other things. One is we did put this information up very abruptly. If there are colleagues who may be interested in applying who aren't here, we will have a recording of this session available to everybody, and we will send that to you. I encourage you to share it with your colleagues, because there's ample room for everyone to do things. And then lastly, if you're interested in these types of things, we're doing an event today called Antitrust During the Second Trump Administration and Get Us 214 at 4:30 this afternoon. Tomorrow, there is a Life Sciences and Transactions panel with Cummington and Burling at noon. And the conference symposium for this will happen on Friday, January 30th. To which the entire law school community, actually the public, is invited as well. So if you're interested just in doing this, or if you already knew you're going to do the journal, or if you're not sure, I think coming to that, either way, I think coming to that, the conference would be a great way to find out more about it. And you can see the kind of people and get a chance to interact with them as well. All right? If there's any other questions? Yeah. Correct. Honestly, okay. I have kids who've been in their 20s, so I lived through the college application process. And in our experience, there is a very, very small number of schools where it's a mistake to apply early. But in the vast, vast majority of them, early is better. I would say early is better here. I can't imagine that you get caught in the numbers game at the end, not the beginning. And so, I would say that if you have a sincere interest in this field and you put forth a good faith application, I like your chances.
If your schedule and everything allows.
Yeah, understanding, but if you have other commitments, or you're just how I was at the end of my first semester, but not still in a position to do that, then absolutely apply in the spring. All right. Anything else? And with that, please join me in thanking the panelists, and I'll see you soon.